So we're here at Palm Harbor Dancesport in Palm Harbor, Florida, and this is an amazing dance studio, and we're at the Revolving art show that happens on the first Friday of every month, and we're here with the artist. Audio Jungle. Charlie Krusak, who is an underwater photographer. Now this is something that I have been wanting to do for years, but I always thought it was kind of like for the people who were getting married, underwater photography for your wedding. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I wish that I could do it. But where do you find somebody that does it? And lo and behold, boom, I found somebody. So come on over here, Charlie.
Yvonne, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I love your work. It's just so stunning. And I'd love to find out, how did you find yourself getting into this work?
I moved here to Florida in 2015, and I learned to paddleboard. I'm a terrible swimmer, I'll just say that right up front. And so some friends asked me to go paddleboarding with them. And I've been a photographer all my life, so that's probably the basis for this. Anyway, we went paddleboarding. They were all jumping off the paddleboards, diving into the water at three daughters.
Right.
Because I don't swim, I just stayed on the paddleboard, but I had a little point and shoot camera, and I laid down and I put my hand under the water and just took some pictures.
Oh, wow.
So I thought nothing of this, like they're just gonna be snapshots, whatever. And then when I looked at them on my computer, I was amazed with the way the hair was flowing, and I thought, I want to explore this more. So I went out and I bought, it's like a huge Ziploc baggie.
Oh,
And you just, yeah, I know, it had a little port on the front.
Necessity breeds invention, right?
Yes. So I bought this and actually started shooting with this woman in her pool. And it was horrible. The bag was horrible. And halfway through the shoot, I decided, I can't do this.
Right.
Giving it up. Got it back home, looked at my computer, and I was amazed at how much better it was than the point and shoot.
Oh, okay.
So then I was faced with this dilemma. I can't work with this Ziploc baggie. Do I want to make the splurge?
Right.
And I obviously I did that.
Right.
So I got all the right equipment and just started shooting.
Right.
So I started shooting people in the springs at first. And then we have a swimming pool. So I started shooting people in the swimming pool. This was one of my very first pictures. So this is just a background that I used on land. And I threw it in the pool because I didn't like the side of the pool. That's just a cloth material.
Oh, wow.
In the pool. And when people start with me, I have them in the shallow part. And so she was just getting used to the water. And I said, just sit down and just relax. And I told her, look away from me, kind of with your head off to the side. And then I just had her slowly rotate. And that was one of her first pictures. And I fell in love with it.
It's lovely. It's really lovely. It reminds me of that painting Deny by Gustav Klimt.
Oh, yes.
A little bit like that, huh? Yeah. Well, happy accidents are half of life, right? You fall into your best stuff. So like the fact that you were just on your paddleboard out there doing your thing, and then this whole world of discovery happened afterwards. That's one of my favorite things about life, is how we are led into our destiny somehow.
I love that. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not particularly religious, but I'm very spiritual. And I seem to have this connection, and doors just keep opening and opening and opening.
Synchronicity. That's one of my favorite things in life, is synchronicity, right?
It's wonderful.
Right.
It's wonderful. And so now I've gotten to the point where when something bad happens, I know that something better is going to come out of that. I used to think when something bad happens, oh my gosh, And now if that happens, and I'm thinking, oh, well, something better is going to happen. So great.
Like that good luck, bad luck story, right?
So I don't worry when bad things happen anymore. But back to the work.
So all this is just fabric that you've draped.
Okay, so this is actually the pool.
Okay.
But not that pool.
Gotcha.
We originally, when we moved into the house, we're going to tear out, fill in the pool, and have a place to have parties and stuff.
Right.
And then after I shot her, I talked to my wife and I said, hey,
this is my studio.
Yeah, how would you feel about expanding this a little bit?
Right.
And then we put in a huge pool.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So that's where these were taken.
Uh-huh.
So these are in the deep end. It's 8 feet deep. So I have 3 different places to shoot. That is, I have one area that's 3.5 feet deep, 6 feet deep, and 8 feet deep.
Right.
So they're like 3 different shooting bays.
And then what about this one up here?
I've been wanting to work with this woman for 3 or 4 years.
Uh-huh.
She's a professional model. And Christy, who is in this picture,
Uh-huh.
this is a strange story, and I'm going to be jumping all over. I hope that's
Okay, that's fine.
But,
that's what this is all about, right?
She was putting on a workshop in Mexico for mermaids.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
And I've been doing this enough to where I wanted to know what is it like for the other side.
Yeah, that culture of the mermaid. Right? So many women identify with that.
It was wonderful. I was the only man in the class,
Uh-huh.
but I was learning how to be a mermaid.
Uh-huh.
And I will admit I was the worst mermaid in the group. But she was coming into town and had a workshop at Alexandria Springs.
Uh-huh.
It was full. But someone bailed out one day early.
Uh-huh.
And she called me up and she said, hey, do you want to come shoot with us?
Right.
So I jumped on that, and then I got to shoot, because Astrid was with her.
Right.
And so I got to shoot both of them at the same time.
I just love the effect of the springs. I mean, certain, like, of course, you've got the vegetation that is going to give a certain cast of color to the photo. This, I just love, or did you use any filters on this at all?
Well, when you shoot underwater, everything kind of comes out blue.
Uh-huh.
It's very faded, and it's just got a blue, like a filter over it.
Right.
So to pull out these colors, you have to add more reds and yellows.
Oh, okay.
So it's not really a filter, but I boost the reds
Right.
and the yellows, and that brings out the skin tones.
This one reminds me of Marilyn Monroe.
And fittingly enough, it's titled Candle in the Wind.
Oh, how sweet.
So I'm glad that you saw that.
Yeah.
And basically it's about how fleeting everything is. For example, Marilyn Monroe. She lived till she was 36, but she was cut short way too early.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone comes into my pool and starts posing, and I see this, I want it to last longer,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a split second.
Right.
So that was the reference to Candle in the Wind, is all of this changes so quickly.
And that's part about being an artist too, is you draw on symbolism and imagery that kind of have an iconic reference in our culture. Like I can see kind of like a cross emblem there.
Sure, yes.
You know, like, hey, okay, you know, there's certain symbolism involved in that you could read into it. Doesn't mean that it's true, but or what you were thinking about, but you know, it could have that reference point. That's what I love about art, because you know, art makes no excuses, and art is, you know, it's really for the viewer. Each person sees it differently, right?
They do. Everyone sees something different.
Yeah.
And I love that, because my favorites are not necessarily someone else's favorites.
Right.
And it's interesting as people come through and they pick out, you know, this is my favorite or that is my favorite.
Right.
And obviously I have my favorites, but it's fun to find out what other people's are. So this is the newest pieces.
This one here.
That was taken like a month ago.
Uh-huh.
And that one. The woman in these pictures.
I love this. Very, very
she may
metamorphous.
show up tonight. So she told me she was going to try and
right.
come. So I hope she does.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, you actually have somebody here with you tonight that is somebody who's done a photo shoot with you.
I do.
So
A
Jenna,
good friend of
you want to come
mine.
on over and say hi?
Jenna Harbor.
Hi. So
I
Jenna has actually had a photo shoot with you.
She did.
Yeah. Well, what was it like for you? What was the experience like?
Oh wow, it was honestly incredible. I met Charlie at gallery. I saw his stuff, and then I saw him again, and one of his models was there. So I got to hear her experience and see what he was able to do after the session. I'm like, I want to do that. And, you know, when I mentioned it to Charlie, he's like, yeah, let's do it. And, you know, obviously the day of, you know, you're very nervous and scared because not only is it something I've never done before, but it's also underwater. But
Right.
he was so kind, and it was a very like gentle easing into the process. It's like, start simple, like just figure out how to breathe underwater or really hold the breath. And you know, he's kind enough to let my boyfriend come along, and it was very just chill. So started with just very like in the shallow water, just like how to sink and like how to make sure I turn the right way so I'm facing the camera for him so he gets the shots he needs.
Right.
And honestly, it was just so much fun. Like, you know, we changed outfits, we did different poses, and, you know, by the time 6 hours went by and it was 7 in the evening,
Right.
and Margot's tapping on the glass, come on guys, and, you know, we're just like, just another time, like let's go
Right.
like 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're both having so much fun, and honestly, the more pictures I see, they're amazing. And
Oh, that's so
I can't
cool.
wait to see as he keeps editing them as he feels like it. So it's been
So I'm
great.
kind of curious, when you are presented with a model, do you start to, before you like get to the session, are you already imagining how you might bring that person's beauty out?
I am. I like to talk to people beforehand and find out what they
Come a little closer
like
over
to
here.
do.
So sorry.
Come on
I don't
over
know where to
here.
stand.
Yeah.
Join the crowd.
and just kind of go from there. And it all depends too on a person's body style.
Right.
That makes a difference in how I shoot them. So
Right.
it's never the same.
Right,
And that's the beauty of it. And there's always surprises.
right.
I just never know because the water changes everything, especially in the springs.
Oh, I bet.
It's, for example, this is my friend Renee. And so we went to the springs looking for a place that we could, used to be fish here. And the
Okay.
fish were gone.
Okay.
So we just started shooting, but the current was so strong, she could barely stand up.
Oh, okay.
And so we tried to, it was so great there because she could just stand like this and the current would blow the fabric,
that's
except
so
it would
wonderful.
blow her off balance.
Right.
So I just said,
Only
why
takes a
don't
few
you just,
seconds though, right?
yeah, I said, why don't you just walk away? Just
Uh-huh.
because you can walk, you can lean into the current.
Uh-huh.
And that's where this was taken. She started walking away from me.
Right.
So that kind of solved that whole issue of her losing balance.
So when you were doing your photo shoot, did you find that like he was pulling things out of you that you didn't
Oh my
know you
gosh.
had inside of you? Like was it
No
kind of like
idea.
a revelatory process for you?
It was. I was already kind of personally in a process of change, and meeting Charlie just really helped encourage that in such a natural, healthy way.
Uh-huh.
Where I'd seen some pictures where like with the fabric, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do that. Like I want to keep like clothes on. Not that it helps a lot, but still mentally it helps. But you know, I started out and like I brought an outfit to wear initially. I started out in that, and like I tried on the dresses, and then we pulled out the fabrics, and then at the end of it, I'm just like, you know what? Let's try it without. You know, you just like just one, and I did it, and I'm like, oh my God, I did that. And it was like super proud moment for me. And then he showed me the image, just the little like viewfinder on the camera, and I'm like, oh my God, I look great, which was outstanding for me because you know it's not something you normally think about. But just that one little like preview image was like groundbreaking.
That is so cool because you know I've done things similarly, but not of course this kind of thing. And you know it's always kind of a coming to know yourself in a new way, and you know. I think that we as women are always like trying to find that brand of femininity that we embody, you know, and sometimes that's hard to find out about ourselves. It's hard, it's a process, and you know, the reason why I want to do this, I just think that it would be such an amazing way to come to know myself in a new way.
It is, and that's one of the reasons why I do this, is I love seeing that change. Well, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of women have been, I don't want to say beaten down, but held back for so long, they don't even know how powerful they are. And to bring them in where they can just be themselves and then show them the pictures like this, sometimes they just say, That's not even me.
I'm sure there's tears
And- oh, yeah,
and
it's-
joy and
It's
everything.
so fulfilling. It's really, really
Right.
rewarding.
So as a gift to myself, as a celebration of my 100-pound weight loss when I get there, I'm not there yet, but I'm booking a session. So you guys will see my pictures sometime probably, you know, in February, the 1-year mark. But I'm looking so forward to it. And thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. And thank you for sharing your experience.
course.
I can't wait to see your photos.
I know. Anything I can do to help Charlie. I tell everybody about him. I promote him as much as I can. Like, he's a wonderful person, and everybody needs to
Well,
know
thank you.
So once again, this is Charlie Krusak. He is a underwater photographer, and it's been a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
That is the surface of the water underneath. So that's what you see. You see through the water. So I'm kind of looking up at her so I can get that reflection. So this is her actual reflection.